Welcome to the process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is a continuation of my preseason research. I'm looking at touch metrics at the team and positional levels. Part 1. Here's an AI image here. I don't know. This mythology of fantasy football. Anyway, there it is. So, just some background about my thinking and what I'm doing. As far as I know, what you're going to see is never been done before. I'm taking the traditional idea of measuring touches, right? Rushing attempts, pass receiving, touches, okay? And adding a weekly component concept to it. Okay, if you're new, long story short, scienceoffantasyfootball.com, you'll see my partner Dennis and myself are heavily entrenched into the value of weekly tools to be used in fantasy, not end of the season tools. I think those are not as enlightening. Okay, so usually you measure simple touches, how many, receptions, how many rushing attempts. You have a number. There it is. Player X has 20 touches. Player Y, 19. Player X is better. I don't know. There's a distribution understanding there statistically that you need to apply. But anyway, and so traditionally when I would do touch, I would just kind of do at the team level. What are the total team touches? How are they distributed? Running back, tight end, wide receiver. Make that a percentile of the total and just kind of call that usage. That's how I've done it in the past. I realized that I was missing a weekly component. So I'm going to try to go through the weekly aspect of touches, at least how I'm doing it. And I'll trying to define that information here. Touches you can consider opportunities. When you're thrown a ball or handed off a ball to run or to catch, that's an opportunity, right? So first thing I did, and this is I think from 2019 to 2023, I looked at all players that had at least one opportunity. Okay. I determined each player's opportunity, right, at a weekly level. And then the week side of it, the weekly level, I compared that number to the median opportunities for that position. So I looked at all running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. On the median, how many opportunities occur weekly? Okay, had that data, figured out then something called opportunities median achieved through that positional median. So OPM, that's what I call it. Here it is, OPM. Okay. I divide that total by the games played. So OPMG, games played. Averaged all the team's players within that position to get the team RBWR tight end, OPMG. Developed a percentage usage simple equation. The opportunities above median or above per game, divided by the total of each position, RB, tight end, that, and convert that to percentage. So RBs for a team, tight ends, wide receivers, that's how I would determine. And then I compare the difference of the team position from 2023 to a average 19 to 23 positional, and just say, was it higher or lower? In other words, was 2023 up or down? Okay, increase or decrease? Just kind of how teams are going. Okay. Positive difference implies increased activity at that position for opportunities. Negative. And again, this is at the weekly level. Now, how important is this? First time I've done it. Okay. So this is what we call a beta test. I don't know. Right now, this year, 2024, I'm going to use this as a guide, tiebreaker kind of situation. If I've got two fairly ranked players and for whatever reason I need a wide receiver, tight end, or whatever, I can use this maybe to help me break that tie. Maybe not everything, right? Strength of schedule, and there are other things, you know, the rookie draft. I mean, look, that's the art, right? Is you juggle these metrics, but it's not, you know, people can do algorithms. You can do artificial intelligence, black boxes, machine learning. I understand. I'm not doing that. Don't have time. I'm not risking that kind of money to become a monk and learn that. I'm a biologist, got my PhD in microbiology. Okay. I understand that conceptually. It's not a problem to visualize machine learning and algorithm, artificial intelligence. I got all that as far as the concepts, not the coding, right? I'm sure at one point we will have the tools. And so then your drafting will be compared to everybody else's AI. So you wonder what the game will look like in a few years, if not even this year. I suspect big money syndicates, certainly trying to beat Vegas, they're already doing artificial intelligence. So these millionaire makers and things, daily fantasy, just be aware. I think if you hadn't already been fighting against the AI and the whatnot, you definitely will be at this point. And of course, they're not going to advertise, right? I mean, why should they? And I think in any kind of gambling, it's there. If it's sports betting, horse racing, you know, sports, people are doing that. So don't be naive and think it's not happening. If you're a small fish like I am, right, risking a couple thousand a season, they don't have time to skin me. So you kind of be a guerrilla investor in this world here. You come down, you pop up, you do your business, you flop back down, you just stay out of the big boy and girl way. Okay, but don't be fooled. Okay, I just show you I did a couple lines just to show you how I get some of this OPMG. I did calculate quarterbacks, but you're not going to see that here because it only measures their rushing. But I just grabbed a couple. Lamar Jackson 2019 weekly values, week 1 to week, I guess 16, whatever. 175 touches, touch per game, almost 12, 11.7. So the median that he did was 11. Okay. touches per snap if you need that data, the scoring, PPR per touch, and whatnot. So we compared each week versus the median for quarterbacks, and it turns out the number's 14 out of 16 weeks, which is, you can see, per game. Then it's per how many games you played. 0.9. That's the best for 2019. Jalen Hurts, 2022, 0.87. Strong weekly opportunity per game. Okay, so that's where I get the data. Okay, so you can build the database if you want. Or I got it. You can see the results. Okay. Groups of 4. Take a look. Here's positional opportunities per median per game. 2019 to 23. Here's the actual numbers. And remember, you're saying, well, wasn't 0.9 something? Yeah, but this is all of them. That was player level. This is team level, right? So even the RB that had 1 or 2 attempts a week, opportunities per week, they're in here. I'm just shoehorning the whole positions. Okay, we'll worry about player level later, but for this information. So you can see that, and you can colorized, and you can see RBs, one of the best in the last 5 years. Well, third best. Tight end, the best. People jumping on Trey McBride, that's part of that right there. That metric. Look at what they were doing in 19 and 20. They weren't even using the tight end, folks. And now look at it. Here's wide receiver. So if you judge Arizona about what they did in 2022, I think that's a giraffe. Okay, popped up and it went back down. And we're closer to this number here, 0.66. I then took all the positions, this number here, 0.228, and compared it to Atlanta, Baltimore, all the teams, and used a box and whiskers and determined what was the extreme highs and lows, and I colorized the symbols for the positions. So Arizona, one of the worst, actually, even though it was wasn't too bad for the team level compared to the league, it sucked. Tight ends, one of the best last year. Okay, hence the Trey McBride. Wide receivers, no, it's average. Okay, nothing dramatic. So that should give you some pause. Okay, so right away you can use this and just in a snapshot. Wow. So Connor is being given, some, there's some opportunity there, maybe get a bargain because I'm measuring all RBs. Connor was pretty dominant of the RBs. So take 228, divide by this total here of 228, 210, 166, add that, divide 228 by that total, it's 38%, 35% tight end, 27%. And then I look at the difference here, 0.228 versus the 5-year average is a positive. Okay, tight end, really positive, right? Look, part of it, look at those years. Lean years. They got Ertz here. He was getting a little long in the tooth, but I still think he might have some value because I think he got traded, right? Did he get traded? Maybe he did. Anyway. And then wide receivers were last year was a decline from the average. Okay, so you get a snapshot of what the team did last year, and then a snapshot of how the positions was used, and then how does that fare? Look at Atlanta, Bijan Robinson, 59%, folks. Hello, You wonder why he's number 2. You're thinking, wonder why he's number 2. Well, metrically, there it is at the weekly level. It's another tool here. Okay. But because of that, Atlanta's so out of balance, they're tied in and wide receivers. Weak sauce overall. I understand Drake London, Pitts. I understand that. But this is overall. And then there's the difference. Baltimore, love the tight end. Overall, they had a really sucky year as far as opportunities, folks. Really sucky. I know Flacco came in at the end, but it cost them. Look at these numbers. They're all down. Wide receivers down the least because Flacco perked it up at the end. Tight end, though, historically, not too bad. So, Buffalo, RB, You wonder about James Cook. Tight end, Wide receivers, all about the wide receiver, and they lost Diggs. So people were anticipating, because of the history, that wide receivers will do well. Here's another way to look at this data. I graphed it. Here it is. You can see tight ends, RBs, and just kind of above the overall opportunity weekly level. Just kind of see who sits. I'm not looking right on the line or right below, but I'm looking for the extremes. So here, Baltimore, Buffalo, the tight end. The difference, a little impressive. They've been getting a little juice. But wide receivers, the bar is the actual use. Right there, right there, right there. A little decline. Right there. So you can look at this and figure it out. Okay. Next, we go to the next 4 teams. Okay, let's go to Carolina, Chicago, Cincinnati, Cleveland. That's set. Once again, I'm just jumping to the usage by percent over here. Just kind of flying through here. Okay, but all this data I'll put up on Science of Fantasy Football. I'll have a hard copy of this data for you. But it looks like Carolina, they love their RBs last year. Chuba Hubbard really took over from Sanders. So I'm curious to see. The wide receivers, pretty weak sauce, and tight end, it's non-existent. I don't even know what they're doing. So I know people are high on Brooks. I don't know. Looks like an out of balance team to me. So, and that's probably something that I should probably look at for 19 through 23. Maybe if I have time down the road. Hadn't thought about it. Team usage. Is it predictable? What does it mean for a quarterback that has a skew like this, maybe? That kind of thing. There's probably some secret sauce in here somewhere. Chicago, all about that RB. Tight end next. WR's weak sauce. So maybe they'll do different. And again, I'm curious, and I haven't done this. Players coming into that environment, say wide receivers, or Carolina, say tight end. What's an expectation Are they going to, does it just remarkably change or not? You know, should we give benefits of the doubt? It's something to consider. Cincinnati, RB, and WR, hope they can get their tight end up and running. Okay, so that's the kind of teams they are. Cleveland, RB, tight end, wide receivers, weak. So if you look, certain teams look like each other. Chicago and Cleveland look a lot alike, don't they? Carolina and Cincinnati kind of do. In other words, the de-emphasis of tight end. So one might group teams into characteristics like that and kind of see, does that group show anything? In other words, having that kind of pattern, what does teams with that pattern, what do they show in, let's say, in win percentage the next year, in maybe prop betting, okay, maybe whatever. In other words, just if you think this is the end, it's never the end. Always something to study. And again, if your website that you're paying money for is not doing original data studies and trying to push the envelope, what the hell are you paying for? I don't know. I don't use a lot of sites unless there's something really that I just don't want to do more than I can't do. I need some interns, ESPN. Put me to work. Usage, this is the red bar. Carolina's RB. Everything else is Chicago. You know, it's not really too far off that line there. A little bit on the zero there as far as difference. If you look at the difference there. Nothing really, just, I mean, tight end did increase a little bit in Cleveland and Chicago, but still pretty damn sad. What's next? Dallas, Denver, Detroit, Green Bay. Dallas is kind of a little bit more balanced, but you know what? Nothing really super spectacular. In fact, the RB with Pollard was a little weak. Look at Denver. You talk about RB strength, 74%. No tight end usage at all. Another out of balance team. I mean, look at that distribution versus, let's see, does it look like Carolina maybe? Or Cincinnati? Even more skewed. Detroit, a little bit more balanced like Dallas. A little bit skewed to the RB a little bit. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. Green Bay loves their RBs. 50%. Not bad. Denver loves it. So, what does that mean for this year's draft capital buying into those running back fields? Best ball. See what's happening. Denver really strong here if you look at that. Denver really declined a lot last year. Dallas is not, they sure miss a peak Elliott. Sure do. Houston, Indianapolis, Jacksonville, KC. Houston putting all their eggs in the WR basket, folks, right there. 54%, one of the highest in the league. 54. Indianapolis, Pittman right there, 47. Really love Pittman this year. Love this crew, but there's what, Dale, Collins, Diggs? Who the hell's going to get? Can it support 3? I don't think it can. Maybe 2, and I think one's going to be dominant. So it might be an alpha and 2 WR3 types, depending on the week. I'm not sure who I want to invest in. I wouldn't overbuy any of them. In fact, I might buy the cheap one. I don't know. Maybe is that Dell? I might buy the cheap one. Indianapolis, gotta love Jonathan Taylor, 53. In his handcuffs. Looks good to me. WR Pittman. Tight ends. I hope Jelani Woods can knock this back. He's back from injury, so I'm hoping this is going to go up. But he's my 3rd tight end in best ball, so that shows you my hope. Jacksonville, a little bit more balance with a little skew to the RB. So again, notice this allows you to describe the team that was coming out of that environment. What do we think is going to happen this year? Okay, so you can take notes, okay, in your diary and make conclusions and think. Take a look at the players you're liking this year. What's the background they're coming out of? What's the distribution? Just make note, okay? Are you finding something interesting that works for you? KC, Pacheco, looking good. Boy, look at the WRs. It's like, what the hell? One of the weakest in the whole league. And they still made do because of Kelsey. But look at that. That is such weeks. 13? You kidding me? Is that the bottom? I think I've got the data by position. I think that's one of the lowest in the league. You can only think Hollywood Brown and other. It's got to go up, right? Got to. Can't go worse than that. Here's the usage as well. Look how low the WR is. That is so low. Houston, Indianapolis, kind of a balance. A little bit Jacksonville balance, but not as... Indianapolis doesn't use the tight ends. Jacksonville kind of balances it out. So you can look and see the skew. Look at the skew. Maybe you can look at it this way. Look at RB to that. Indianapolis, opposite. See if that gives you any insight to the background. Is this next? No. Chargers, Rams, Raiders, Dolphins. Chargers look a lot like Indianapolis. They don't use their tight end. Sad. Okay, so again, this is the background this year. What does that mean? Rams, same thing. Have the same kind of background. Raiders, same kind of background. Miami, same kind of background. A little bit skewed with Tyreek. So, if you hadn't got a sense, it's a rare team that can make the tight end useful as far as usage. So, really consider that in your best ball this season. Look at the balance with no tight end. They all look the same. Okay? Very intriguing. Minnesota, trying to be balanced here. Tight end with Hockenson, Jefferson. Need a little uptick on the RB here. New England, don't use their tight end. I know Henry's there. He did well on weeks, but could do a lot better. New Orleans trying to be a little bit more balanced, but having to rely on Kamara there. They need to sign him if they want a shot this year. Notice the giants, the same pattern. So again, I haven't done this. I think you can take the patterns here and explore further down the landscape from top to bottom what this might mean for 2024. Help you forecast and make predictions. Look at this. Okay, so you can take a look at the balance there. Jets. Nope, tight end. Philadelphia, you'd hope they do better, but compared to these four, they're, I'm hoping tight ends can really increase a little bit. They were weak last year, dropped. Okay, again and again. So that's becoming the rule in the league, at least it was last year. Nobody's using their tight end compared to the other ones. So then the pattern is where you skew it to the RB or the WR. Or do you try to balance it out? Are you like Philly, the balance? Or are you like Pittsburgh, the skew to the RB? Okay, you can take a look at the balance there. Last, Frisco, Tampa Bay, Tennessee, Washington. 22% with Kittle's not bad. Not great, but not bad. But compared to these other, Washington tries to use the tight end a little bit, but they're all about the WR. Okay, Tennessee, all about that run, boss. Look at that. Out of balance. Trying to be a balance. Trying to be a balance. So I think team usage, the balance, the type, the environment some of these players are coming out of, I think you can add this to your notes, your cheat sheets. It's my first year to do this weekly level opportunities the way I'm doing it here. So I'm not sure what all this means yet. Okay, so we're going to take this with a grain of salt. Okay, 32 minutes of me running my mouth. This is Dr. Bush. I'll try to have the hard copy of this. There this is. And I've got more parts coming, positional level and I think player level. So this part 2 is coming when I get around to speaking about it. Okay, come back soon. Woo woo, we're having fun.